We are following breaking news out of Washington, D.C. There are reports of a shooting involving a National Guardsman. This happened at the intersection of 17th Street and I Street Northwest. This is video from the scene. You can see multiple police officer cruisers there with their lights flashing, the road being closed there. This particular area is about a 5-minute walk to the White House, essentially 2 blocks away. Now, Metro Police for D.C. are describing this as a critical incident. They are asking people to stay away from the area. They say there are updates to come. We also have reached out to the Joint Task Force for D.C. coordinating National Guard deployments and operations. They confirm they are aware of an incident involving a National Guard member. They cannot confirm the identity or the state or the region of deployment where this National Guard member comes from. Again, we are bringing you this breaking news. You can see the area has been roped and taped off. Multiple rescue vehicles are there, investigating as well. We see somebody leaving that area. Again, just letting everybody know exactly where this is, where Metro Police are on the scene of. This is reports of a shooting, on the scene of a shooting at 17th Street and I Street Northwest. This is very, very close to the White House, a busy, bustling area, of course, there in downtown D.C. We know that the president is not currently at the White House. The president is at Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach, Florida. But this is obviously a heightened time for the country, and we know that we're working to get more information here as this breaking news unfolds. If you're just joining us to catch everybody up to speed here, Metro Police saying they're on the scene of a shooting in Washington, D.C., 17th Street and I Street Northwest. They're telling everybody to avoid the area and say that they will have more updates as they become available. This is posts that they put on X, so you can see that, saying exactly what I just told you. Again, reiterating 17th Street and I Street Northwest, telling people to avoid the area. We have a crew on the way. We're also working to get more information and working to get more people here on CBS News 24/7 so we can tell you exactly what we know as we know it. The Joint Task Force coordinating the National Guard deployments and operations confirms they are aware of an incident involving a National Guard member, but they can't confirm the region that this person is deployed from. Our Nicole Skanga is on the scene, and she tells us that she counts dozens of Metro Police vehicles and Secret Service personnel who have been deployed throughout the park there. I believe she's talking about Lafayette Square. She says lots of officers are putting up caution tape. We have reached out to the National Guard. They haven't confirmed anything yet. And according to the Associated Press, 2 National Guard members have been shot. Their condition is not known. So this information is literally coming in, and as I'm reading it, I am telling it to you. But we have breaking news here that Metro Police are on the scene of a shooting in Washington, D.C., very close, just 5-minute walk from the White House, a couple of blocks away at 17th and I Streets in Washington, D.C. The AP reporting 2 National Guard members have been shot. Their condition is not known. We know that police and Secret Service there are on the scene, and we know that police are cordoning off the scene so nobody can go in that area. Police are also asking people to avoid the area. And this is obviously a very tough situation a day before Thanksgiving that we are reporting of a shooting in which 2 National Guard members have been shot in our nation's capital. So in this video that we're showing you, you can see law enforcement officers walking around, going into the scene. We see a lot of police cars. I believe that's a fire truck as well, toward the back of the scene here. This is all taking place in the heart of downtown D.C., 17th and I Streets. Could be Lafayette Square that Nicole Skanga was talking about, or Farragut Square, where she was seeing police put up caution tape. Again, our Nicole Skanga, national security correspondent, saying that she counted dozens of Metro Police vehicles and Secret Service personnel deployed throughout the park. Let's go now to CBS News Homeland Security contributor Sam Vinograd, who joins us from our Washington bureau. Sam, this is terrible news a day before Thanksgiving, hearing that 2 National Guard members, according to the Associated Press, have been shot. What would be typical at a time right now when investigators are really just getting to the scene here?
Well, Lindsay, this is a horrific development, and we don't know the motive, but we do know that from a law enforcement perspective, the holidays are always viewed as a very high-threat moment. We also know that violent crime has been down over 25% in Washington, D.C. year over year. At the same time, violence against law enforcement has been on the rise. So in this moment, investigators from a range of federal, state, and local agencies, including Secret Service, Metropolitan Police, likely the FBI, are going to be, in the first instance, trying to apprehend any suspects, that are still at large, and try to ascertain what the motive was here. We are still waiting to hear, for example, if authorities believe that there's no ongoing threat to the public. We just don't have that information yet, Lindsay.
And Sam, can you talk to us about what normal deployment for National Guard would be in this area versus the ramped up operation that we know that the president has sent in to help, in his terms, clean up D.C.? Would there normally be National Guard troops, though, patrolling the area?
The presence of National Guard troops in such close vicinity to the White House is a new-ish development, Lindsay, and commensurate with the president's deployment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C. over the past several weeks. However, it is worth noting that one of the highest concentrations of law enforcement in the country and in the world is in the exact location where the shooting took place. The few blocks surrounding the White House is one of the most saturated environments from a law enforcement perspective because of the President of the United States, who obviously lives in the White House, the Vice President, all the cabinet officials that come to the White House. So you have Secret Service, you have Metropolitan Police, you have so many others that are there regularly. The presence of the National Guard is a new development. And as you know, Lindsay, as our viewers know, the National Guard is dispersed throughout Washington, D.C., including in this area. So there's an outstanding question as to whether there's an ongoing threat to other National Guard members in Washington, D.C. and throughout the country.
And my producers did let me know we have a new statement from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. She said, please join me in praying for the 2 National Guardsmen who were just shot moments ago in Washington, D.C. DHS is working with local law enforcement to gather more information. Again, this is very early. We are learning from the Associated Press that 2 National Guards members have been shot. Secretary Noem saying, please join me in praying for the 2 National Guardsmen who were shot moments ago. And Sam, I do want to pick up a little bit more on this area, but first, just to give people a little bit more context as to what we were talking about. It was in August when the president issued that executive order declaring a crime emergency in Washington. That means within about a month, there were more than 2,000 National Guard troops from 8 different states patrolling this area. But a judge did order just 6 days ago to the administration to end its deployment of National Guard troops, essentially saying that it intrudes on local officials' authority to direct law enforcement in that district. It's unclear to me at this time if all of those troops have already been withdrawn. But if you can tell us a little bit more about this area for people who aren't familiar with Washington, D.C., and is it mostly government buildings around here? Is it just office buildings as well, lobbyist firms, et cetera? What is going on in this area at I Street and 17th Street?
Lindsay, you really have a very diverse set of entities in this area. You, of course, have the seat of U.S. government, the White House, the Treasury Department, and other government buildings in this area. But you also have restaurants that cater to individuals working in these buildings, but also a ton of tourists. You have hotels. You have think tanks. You have corporate spaces. You have lobbying firms. There are a range of different entities in this area, including the seat of the U.S. government. But this is a very heavily populated area as well for tourists. There's oftentimes a lot of foot traffic, particularly when the area right outside of the White House is closed to pedestrian traffic. The saturation of tourists on 17th Street is oftentimes very heavy as individuals try to get close as close as they can to the White House. So there's oftentimes a range of people in this area, both visiting the White House and the outlying vicinity of the White House, and then people just going to work, getting coffee, and going to their offices.
All right, so right now in this video, we see people entering that, some National Guard troops, they're entering that scene, possibly to secure it. Sam, can you see the video that I'm seeing?
I can, and so we do see a contingent of National Guard service members there. But Lindsay, as Secretary Noem mentioned in her statement, the Department of Homeland Security and other federal entities will be working with local law enforcement, Metropolitan Police, and others to secure this space, but also to investigate what happened. The fact that this happened in this area in Washington, D.C., but in such close proximity to the White House and could represent a threat to government personnel as well, could involve other government agencies. The Secret Service has a heavy presence in this area. And so in terms of just securing the perimeter here so that an investigation can play out, there will be a lot of folks actually on the ground. But we also have to remember there is a ton of surveillance of this area, video cameras and otherwise, because of the importance of this area that we just discussed.
And so I'm also seeing there what looks like a square or a small park. I'm thinking that it might be Farragut Square.
Yes, I believe so.
Does that also complicate law enforcement? I know it's a highly trafficked area. They're vigilant. They know what they're looking for. But is something like this also sort of a difficult spot to secure, that you have sort of an open park in this area?
Not at this time. It looks like they have it cordoned off. And I will say that the Secret Service and Metropolitan Police are unfortunately or fortunately used to securing scenes in close proximity to the White House, but just generally. So no, I don't think it'll be overly difficult to secure the scene. I think that the investigative work will have to involve looking at the video feeds in and around this area, as well as interviewing any individuals that were on site when this happened. There are already videos circulating on Twitter looking at that as well.
Okay, Sam, I'm just going to interrupt you. I'm so sorry, but we do have more news, and I want to get it to everybody as soon as I know. So the fire department in D.C. says they transported 3 gunshot victims from this location. We have an update that the scene is secured. 1 suspect is in custody. If my producers can tell me what office is telling us that. And then we have a statement from White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who says the White House is aware and actively monitoring this tragic situation. The president has been briefed. Again, the president is at Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach. So here we go. This is an ex-post from D.C. police saying the scene is secured. 1 suspect is in custody. Sam, go ahead. You were telling us that one of the open questions that we had was whether there was still a danger to the public, and it sounds like at this point there is not.
Well, Lindsay, when I read that statement as a former Homeland Security official who worked on threat prevention, it doesn't say there's no ongoing threat to the public. I hope that's the case. It says the suspect is in custody. It does not say there's no ongoing threat to the public. I certainly hope there's not. But what has to happen now before they can make that statement with confidence is understanding what the motive of the suspect was. Was this a crime gone wrong? I mean, there's so many hypotheticals here, and we have to understand what the motivation of the suspect was, whether this individual acted alone, and from there they'll make a call on whether there's an ongoing threat to the public, but it's probably just too soon to tell.
Okay, that makes sense. They're trying to discern if this person was acting alone or with the help of anyone else. Again, if anybody is just joining us, we are covering very tragic breaking news in the heart of Washington, D.C., very close to the White House. We are following reports that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi, Noem, saying, please join me in praying for the 2 National Guardsmen who were just shot. We know that the fire department in D.C. said they transported 3 gunshot victims from this location, and police say the scene is secured. 1 suspect is in custody. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying that the White House is aware and the president has been briefed.